Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me once again for another Fuchsia Labmic book talk on the expanded universe of Star Wars. So excited to be with you here again, and we are going to get right into this book talk, so let's go. We are going to talk about the third book in the Thrawn 3-book cycle entitled The Last Command. You can see the slideshow image that we have up right now is from the cover of the book. This is the original cover artwork without the title, all that. This book was published April 1st, 1993, so we're approximately 10 years out from the release of Return of the Jedi, somewhere around there. It was written, of course, by the great, the wonderful Timothy Zahn, who wrote all three of these books. Wrote really anything pertaining to Thrawn is Timothy Zahn's world. And this is going to conclude the story that we're into, this Thrawn 3-book cycle. I keep saying 3-book cycle because that is how it was originally deemed. Let's place ourselves in the timeline here. We're at 9 ABY, 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. That puts us 5 years out from Return of the Jedi. That means that the death of the Emperor, the destruction of the second Death Star, all of that, the death of Darth Vader, all of that occurred 5 years ago. So we're half a decade away from it. We're also 2.5 years out from the New Republic taking Coruscant. That is, the New Republic establishing itself on Coruscant as the major government. And I've talked about this in previous book talks, but it's really important that we understand that you're not the galactic government until you establish yourself on Coruscant. And there's the logo for the New Republic from that era. These books are all New Republic era books, and all the ones that I'll be talking about and all that are New Republic era books. They are the books that take place after Return of the Jedi, which is why I was so interested in them when I started reading them. This is the first set of books that I ever read post-Jedi. So it was really exciting to be a part of this world all of a sudden. Let's talk about the ages of our heroes here, Luke and Leia. Now remember, when we met them, they were just kids, right? They were 19, just barely 19 years old. And now they're 28. The Skywalker twins are 28 years old. This is, they have grown so much since that time, and we're starting to see new things about them. We're starting to see that they have grown up, that they have learned things, that they have done more stuff, all of that. Then, of course, Han Solo is 38 years old. Han 38, married to Leia Organa Solo at 28. And they got married just a year ago. But they're 10 years apart. I mean, I know it doesn't seem like a lot between 28 and 38. And if you were 50 and 60, so what? But at 19 and 29, it's a little creepy. Just a little creepy. But Captain Pellaeon is 60 years old. He's 60 years old throughout this. All of this takes place in the same year. This entire storyline takes place in the same year. And Pellaeon is a 60-year-old man. Talon Karrde is a new character that we've introduced in this series. He is somewhere over 40. We don't know his exact age. You can't pin down his exact age. He may not even know his exact age sometimes. that happens with smugglers. Mara Jade. Mara Jade is a very important, maybe, and I know I'm going to get some flack for this, but maybe the most important person to come out of this series. And I'm only going to get flack for it because of the next person. But Mara Jade is 26. She's a couple of years younger than the Skywalker twins. And then the other one who is arguably the most important character to come out of this series, Grand Admiral Thrawn. And you cannot pin down his age. He's somewhere between 50 and 60 years old. That's all you get for Grand Admiral Thrawn. Let's look at the major places that we are going to visit in this book. We're going to look at Filve. Filve is a world that is minor, like it almost never gets brought up again, but it turns out to be important here. Coruscant, of course, is an important place in this entire series, and in this book, it's going to be important again, obviously. And there's going to be some interesting things going on in Coruscant as we get into this book. Onager is yet again going to play a big part in this book, as it did in the last two books, but really in the last book. Onager takes on a whole new importance and continues into this book. Podaris is going to be there's really a vague image there, but Podaris is a planet that is going to have some importance again. Not a planet that keeps coming back up, really. And then we have Wayland. And of course, Wayland and Mount Tantus has been important for this entire 3-book cycle, will continue to be important. Although once these books are done, Wayland's importance wanes. It wanes, I should say. Obroa Sky, which is a planet that is going to come back up in the future, in future books. Obroa Sky is an important planet for us to keep in mind. Hijarna is an important place, but Hijarna is yet another kind of minor place other than for this book. For this book, it's important. You may want to look it up. And then, of course, coming off of Wayland, Mount Tantus itself is going to be really important in this book. Mount Tantus plays a really big role in this particular book. So you want to absolutely make sure you understand Mount Tantus. Let's look at our major characters and major relationships. Always like to talk about who's connected to who and what's important to watch out for. Jorua C'baoth and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, they've had a relationship throughout this entire thing, and yes, their relationship is important to watch out for in all 3 of the books, but this book in particular brings it to a new level, and that's why I'm stressing this relationship between Jorua C'baoth and Grand Admiral Thrawn in this particular book. Strangely enough, the relationship between Luke Skywalker and Karrde is really important. Talon Karrde has, of course, been an important character throughout this entire story, but during this book, his relationship with Luke becomes important. The way he's connected to him becomes quite important, and it's something to watch out for, to keep in mind, because it's not a huge part of the book, but it is an important part. Talon Karrde, and there's a picture of Niles Ferrier. Now, Niles Ferrier, you'll figure out, has been in all 3 of these books, But again, his importance and his importance to Talon Karrde and to everything going on takes on a whole new importance in this particular book. So keeping a closer eye out for Niles Ferrier and the people who work for him and the things that work for him. I don't like giving away too much, but it's something to watch out for. And I couldn't find, I just thought this picture was kind of like, it's sort of appropriate and sort of not appropriate all at the same time. This, the relationship between Leia Organa Solo and Mara Jade is going to be really important in this particular book. They've sort of had their run-ins and that in previous books, but they're going to have a more important connection in this particular book. So be watching out for it. You really won't be able to miss it. Let's look at more major characters and relationships. Luke Skywalker and Jorua C'baoth. As though you couldn't have guessed, that's been a relationship that's been sort of speeding up throughout the books. It took on a whole new meaning in the last book, and it will again level up in this book. So Luke Skywalker and Jorua C'baoth are an important set of characters to watch out for as to how they relate to each other in this particular book. Then, as has been the case in all three of these books, and as will be the case in the future for quite some time, Leia Organa Solo and the Noghri, that is going to be a relationship that continues to be important to the story and well beyond the story. As we get into all of these other expanded universe books, as we keep moving forward, Leia and the Noghri will continue to have an important relationship. I won't always talk about it, but something to bear in mind, so I'm stressing it now. The relationship, again, between Rook and Grand Admiral Thrawn. Grand Admiral Thrawn's relationship with particular people is always incredibly important. And his relationship with Rook is going to be a really important one in this book, one that you definitely read carefully when you're reading about Rook, and read carefully when it comes to Grand Admiral Thrawn interacting with Rook. That is something that you could miss if you weren't careful. And then Captain Pellaeon and the Empire. Captain Pellaeon and the Empire. And again, this is going to be an important relationship that carries through for a long time for us. As we go through these post-Jedi expanded universe books, the relationship between Gilad Pellaeon and the Empire becomes more and more important. And again, as we go through the books, it's something that you won't be able to miss. Let's talk about the major events that go on in this book. Luke and Mara's adventure aboard the Chimera. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. I set this during this book, Last Command, and I'm pretty sure that it happens, but it could have happened in Dark Force Rising. But in one of the two books, Luke and Mara have an adventure aboard the Chimera. So something to watch out for. Now, there are questions surrounding Mara Jade, and we're going to have to deal with those questions, especially in this book. The questions that surround Mara Jade are going to come to a head. We're going to learn a lot about who she is between Dark Force Rising and this book. We're going to figure out a lot of things about her, and she's going to discover a lot of things about her. There's self-discovery, but there's also discovery of questions outside of Mara Jade asking her own questions. I'm sort of giving this one away just by the picture, and I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but it was too funny not to put in there. Nogri disguises, and I'll just let the picture speak for itself. Let's just move on, okay? Interesting question. What happened to the lightsaber on Bespin? This is, of course, the famous Youngling Killer 9000, Anakin Skywalker's blue lightsaber that was then taken by Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar and then finally given to Luke, and he battled Vader on Bespin with it. Do you think Vader recognized his old lightsaber? I wonder if that's how he knew. I wonder if that was the final piece of he was like, aha. But what happened to that lightsaber? There are other stories about what happened to it, but this story about what happened to it, and an important birth. And I'm, again, this is kind of being spoiled, but it's gonna be spoiled anyways. It's not something that you're gonna miss. It's not gonna be super important. Let's keep going with our major events. An important alliance is going to be born, and I've put an image in the slideshow. I'm not gonna say a whole lot more about it. You will either recognize that image or you will get to know that image. And then we got to talk about, and I'm just going to tease this, there is one secret that Grand Admiral Thrawn never is able to uncover, to figure out. He never uncovers this one secret. And you want to be thinking about what that one secret is and how it affects a story, because it really, really affects a story and makes for a really good it just goings on of the whole thing, right? It just makes things interesting. I'll say that. Luke meets his match, and I'm putting that in quotes on purpose because it's kind of a joke. I don't want to give away too much about this, but it's an interesting discovery. It's a fun discovery, and that's all I really want to say about Luke meeting his match. Those of you who have read it will know. And I'm giving away a tiny bit here, but I'm really not. I couldn't even find a real good image of this, and I was kind of surprised because it's an important moment. But the fulfillment of the last command, the last command that they are referring to in the title, I've had some people give some speculation on what the last command might mean, but there is an Occam's razor last command in this book. There is a particular last command, and you will see it happen at the end of this book. And I'm trying to tease you. I'm not trying to spoil here, so I'm not going to say much more than just that, the fulfillment of the last command. And that ends the Thrawn 3-book cycle. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed these book talks. I will be continuing these book talks, putting up more at a later date. The next book, it's not really a book, it's a story. But the next one that we will be doing is Dark Empire, the comic book series Dark Empire, which was absolutely phenomenal. And you will see that the Disney fan fiction stuff really pulled, at least somewhat, from these comic books. I always think, maybe I should leave it for the other. I'll just tease the tease here. I always think they pulled like the worst stuff from Dark Empire and left all the good stuff in the comic book. I don't know. Anyways, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys for the next book talk the next time. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and have a wonderful rest of your day.